you come together to do one job and win a series, and you all know that you have to leave whatever you've got in the past behind and just plough into this and put it all in there.
It's changed the course of all our livers.
Jesus Christ.
That was...
That man. He has, that man.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And they just...
Think how youthful we'd be if we had a bit Rory Best, lads.
cook a lasagna at 220 degrees. You went, and you know when you check on it, you went open it, put your head down to check on it, but keep your head there for 80 minutes.
Weird, yeah.
And that's basically what it's like.
It's absolutely horrendous.
And next minute, he's up on the table, isn't he? Getting everyone to sing Little Lion Man. It's like, well, hang on, I want to eat my... Oh, yeah, all right,
Just
sauce.
finish this sauce.
And he's just absolutely giving it large ones.
We're back with the For Love of Rugby, and we've got a very special guest today. Tom Youngs, welcome back to the show.
I'm back.
You're here today because we've got a very special episode, a timeless episode, which is about our Lions tour of Australia in 2013.
Yeah, what a tour that was, mate.
I mean, I hope you've thought a lot about it and brought loads of stories here.
I'll try and remember them all.
We just have to go through it, just rejig them as we go.
Yeah.
So that's...
So we were all on that tour. But let's set the scene. So the Lions hadn't won in 16 years. We had just come off the back of winning the Premiership. Toulon had won Europe. The Glasgow team. That was a very good team.
It was a good team.
Like, public interest, the tour was building towards it. Warren Gatland was the head coach. You had Rob Howley, Graham Roundtree, Andy Farrell, and Neil Jenkins. And so that was the team, all the coaching staff, rather.
Because obviously we spoke this previously with Crofty on the 09, and they'd almost done a reparation job of the 05 Lions. New Zealand was probably the worst, one of the low points of the Lions, and in 09 had sort of rebuilt hope, and they'd lost to South Africa 2-1 in the series, but it really sort of reinvigorated the Lions brand, I think. And this tour now, 2013, going to Australia, was, I think, a lot of people were looking forward to it from a rugby point of view, but also from a touring point of view, because Australia's a great place. And actually the Australia squad was, they went on to 2 years later, lost in a World Cup final, but it was actually Australia were a good side. So it was actually, there was a lot of hype around the tour and how good it was going to be. And also we had great, if you think about like the players on that tour, it was a great blend of, there was a lot of young players coming through, but also you did have your Paul O'Connells, your Brian O'Driscolls, you had legends of the game, you still had those iconic figures, didn't you?
Definitely.
What do you remember about like selection that day? We've mentioned it a lot on the pod, I think, but you guys were obviously outside mauling, weren't you?
Yeah.
And Cockers announced, like, basically.
If I just go back to that year in general, that was sort of my breakthrough year in some regards, and I didn't even realise there was a Lions tour at the end of it. I wouldn't even register in my head about it and stuff like that. So, yeah, as you say, we were outside training, Coley, weren't we? And Cockers just announced it to us, didn't he? Someone ran out in the huddle after, and he just said, "Well done to these boys," and named us out, and that was that. And suddenly you're going on a tour, a fantastic tour and opportunity, and what a tour it was. And I remember we went to Sion Park to meet up on a Monday or Sunday, I can't remember exactly, meeting all these players. I felt so nervous. And Crofty talked about it the other day, and I did really feel, because I'd had, I don't know how many caps I had, probably 12 caps maybe at that point. Like, I didn't have nothing like you boys had the experience of that sort of touring. I've been on a South Africa tour of England with the B sort of side, and it was a massive step for me, and I felt really very quiet in there and just taking it all in. It was just an unbelievable experience though, and to do it with you guys was even better. And as you say, to go and tour Australia, what a fantastic country to go and tour as well.
No, it's like one of the best places to tour. I think it's natural though. Like, everyone's nervous when you first turn up. I think like it's such a prestigious thing that you watch and you're aware of, and you watch it through the years, but you never envision you going there. Even if someone was like, "Oh, you're playing so well, like surely you'll go, surely you go." You're like, I don't know. It just seems. Don't know. It's like the pinnacle of like, oh my gosh. Well, really? Do you think could I?
I think when you look at the pool they pull from, all the players, you're like, nowhere near it. And as you say, you get the letter through the post, don't you? And it's like you're part of a 70-man squad of players, and that's all you get, isn't it? And you find out. I love that. In fact, we all find out the same time as everyone else who's actually going on tour.
Because the thing as well, the squad is we'd played the Six Nations when we lost infamously, didn't we, in Cardiff?
Yes.
30 points to 3. Yeah. But so we'd actually won we're actually going all right in the Six Nations up to that point.
We beat Ireland over.
Yeah, we beat Ireland at the Aviva, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
We beat them
so
there.
actually our Six Nations campaign,
very
apart
good,
from that final
bar the
game,
end,
was actually England had gone well, and there was a solid team and quite a young team in some regards.
It was a very young team when you look at it, yeah.
I think that's sort of like leading into that Lions year. So Leicester as well, domestically, we
were going well.
The league and we're going well. So it's kind of like we're all, from a Leicester point of view, we're playing well. I think a lot of England boys as well, it was kind of like, not to say you would think about the Lions, but that Six Nations, it was England are going well, we're going well. And then obviously you had that massive hiccup against Wales at the end. And it was kind of like, have we blown our chances? You know what I mean? Not that you, again, you don't really think about too much about the Lions because so much can change in between the end of the Six Nations. But I think I think we're probably in all our minds, it was like, there's a chance we could be going because like you're probably one of the best teams in Europe. So therefore, you know what I mean? You're probably one of the better players at that time. So I think it was there, but you obviously don't want to count your chickens and stuff.
No, I think some lads probably missed out on the back of what happened in that Wales game. Yeah. Without doubt, you know, I think some people probably did.
Well, you look at like, say, who was in charge coach-wise, like Gatley, it was basically...
It was the Welsh.
Yeah. It was the Welsh
coach
stuff. Yeah, coach stuff, wasn't it?
And NSA had Farrell and Roundtree, who obviously swung at England's way in that regards, but it was the Welsh sort of coaching staff, so Gatland, and so you never knew what you were going to get from him, did you? Because did he come into camp?
Came into camp. We were at, was it the football place?
We were at St George's Park, weren't we?
Park.
And he sort of
came in. I remember him then,
yeah.
and I didn't, you know, again, and
yeah.
And
but even then, you're really sheepish. It's kind of like...
He just sort of tucked himself away and you didn't really want to speak to him or whatever.
You might shake hands and say...
Well, the last thing you want to do is be seen like chewing his ear off. Like, it's like, like, do you know what I mean? It's like, there's a Lions coach. You're in England camp still doing that, but that's what they do because I think, you know, all those coaches do it every year. They go and pop into each club, but each national team during the Six Nations. But yeah, you're hardly going to be like, got 5 minutes, mate. Yeah,
separate thing. Was that we went to St George's Park and we had like guest speakers as well? Was that the year we got Bradley Wiggins in? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And basically, the team psychologist was interviewing him, and he's like, Bradley, so you know, do you feel that the Tour de France, it's a mental battle and you're competing against yourself? And he's like, no, mate, I'm competing against 140 other blokes.
He did. He kept shutting him down, didn't he, basically?
He's like, this whole thing that the psychologist talks about, you're competing with yourself and you get better. It's like, Bradley Wiggins says, like, no, mate, there's loads of people competing against. I know what you're on about. It's just like, yeah, I think that was the year.
Like when you do meet up that first time though, it's weird because you have those day at Syon Park and you meet everyone, they sort of set the scene a little bit, you get all your kit, you do all those bits, and then it's like goodbye. And you've got 3 weeks or so left of the season.
But they and you don't know 2 weeks for 2 weeks, didn't they? They had 2 weeks together whilst we played the finals.
Yeah, which I think actually, you know, that is a benefit, I think, for, well, you know, that almost when that squad does get together. And if you're still playing finals, that's great. But equally, people are making...
I've found it really hard coming into the camp. You suddenly get a line-out sheet and it's very difficult suddenly to just do that. You know what I mean? It was sort of... And almost as well, like you're coming off the back of beating Northampton, then straight onto that. It was...
Sorry, talking about Northampton there, because that was the final. And Dylan Hartley, who was named in the original touring squad got red carded.
Tom Youngs is on the floor. And then he looks up at the referee there.
And for dissent, basically.
Yeah.
And after that game, he claimed he was calling it to you. The referee obviously thought it was calling to him. So therefore, you were sort of dragged in for about 24 hours, 40 hours into the sort of, to give evidence in regards to did he call you it?
Yeah.
Because obviously if he called you it, he may have then gone on the Lions tour.
Yeah.
And he was found that he didn't, and it was aimed at the referee.
Yeah.
But was that weird? Do you remember that? Was that weird?
Yeah, it was weird, mate, because it was not aimed at me one bit. I know that, and you know that actual Coley. They were absolutely bitching and moaning in Northampton because we were Big Logo Villy. Year 1987 was used to call ourselves Big Logo VU. We were doing a great job on them, and do you remember in the game we were like let's just keep our calm here. They're losing it. They're getting so angry and wound up. Barnsley's on our side, not because Jenny was on our side, just because we were dominating the set piece scrum.
We weren't chirping away.
We weren't chirping away. And obviously it got frustrating. I think Northampton had this massive phobia as well about Wayne Barnes always like siding to us. They kind of made a big deal of that. And and Dylan obviously went and said he was. And then suddenly won the Premiership, really happy about that. Now about to go on a Lions tour. And then suddenly I'm thrown in the middle of this sort of saga where they're sort of saying, well, you know, did he said it to you? And I'm like, he didn't say it to me. No way did he say it to me. You know, and it was clearly to Barnsley, and that's that. And unfortunately, Dylan missed out on a fantastic tour.
I say Rory Best came out in his place.
Yeah, who's a
top tourist.
Well,
top man.
It's changed the course of all our livers.
Jesus Christ.
That was
That man. he has, that man.
yeah.
Oh my God. And they just...
Think how youthful we'd be if we had a bit Rory Best, lads.
you actually saw him
The other week.
Did
We
you?
went over there.
Wow.
Went around the farm.
On a farming tour.
Yeah, and then I spoke at a
When's lunch?
Paul's-
yeah. So bestie.
local rugby club, and I had a great night. Had a
Yeah.
fantastic night. Fairly well oiled, as you can imagine by the end of it. But yeah, we had a good few pints of Guinness, and he was on great form. Sends his best to you all, as per Rory, Sir Rory.
That's the thing, isn't it? Relationship with the Lions is that you generally get to know people that you play against, and you hear they're good blokes, but until you just don't know really, and then you're like, I'm so thankful that I come across him,
Yeah, massively. And it's such a special moment because I think you guys alluded to it the other day, like literally you say goodbye at Heathrow Airport and that is done. You never get the opportunity to play. You might go on the next tour and there might be one or two of you left over from the 13, but that squad will never be playing a game of rugby again. It's a very special thing to be involved in.
Because we basically played the Premiership final.
Yep. Flew
with them. That was the Saturday.
Yeah.
Sunday we met up.
I think we had to train on the Sunday, Colin. I think I had to try and throw line-outs. And I was
like
like,
we
I think we met up at Kensington or something.
Yeah.
Was it Kensington? Basically,
I'm sure
met
we
there.
did line-outs. I was like, I can't lift my hands above my head.
We had we went out for dinner that night as the squad departure meeting, didn't we?
Yep.
And that was a strange thing. And then basically, I think we flew on the.
Then we flew
to Hong Kong, didn't we? Do you remember? We flew to Hong Kong the Monday.
Oh my Christmas tree.
Which we basically flew to Hong Kong.
You played that game.
Yes, I did.
You had to play because most of the finalists weren't supposed to play, were they?
I played.
Because I think Roy Best came out. Did he? He must have come out a bit after,
later,
didn't he?
and I
So he had
sat
to
on the
play.
bench.
Yeah.
Played about 30 minutes, I think, in that game.
But we basically, when we got to Hong Kong, we went on the piss for about two days.
Well, we had one
then we
good
had to
day
train,
on it.
didn't we?
I remember it.
And it was unbearable.
All holding each other up, basically.
It was unbearable.
90%
I thought, because we got off the plane in Hong Kong, it was like, oh, it's humid, it's all this kind of stuff. And you stepped out into the airport and you thought, yeah, it is quite stuffy. And then the doors opened to get on the bus and oh my God, I've never been, it was horrific.
I'd never want to play rugby there ever again.
No.
Literally the worst place I've ever played. Just
turn your oven up to 200 degrees. As the great Lou Reed said the other week. He's describing what it was like playing Japan, the great Lou Reed was. And he basically said, cook a lasagna at 220 degrees. He went, and when you check on it, he went, open it, put your head down to check on it, but keep your head there for 80 minutes.
So good,
And that's basically what it's like.
it's absolutely horrendous.
We stayed in a lovely spot, didn't we?
Yeah,
it was a lovely hotel.
Overlooked the sort of
the bay,
the bay out there, and it was lovely.
We went on the.
Who do you room with? Who are you with?
Jonathan Davies first night.
Foxy.
Mike Phillips.
You're Philsy.
Yeah.
Was he doing his hair?
I think I went and met the
Toby Falata.
bloody government thing.
We went up with HSB because HSBC was the main sponsor, wasn't it? So we went up at the top of the tower. Yeah,
that was awesome. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Appearance then.
Great place to go and visit. Do not play sport out there.
Yeah,
no.
That's
But so we're encouraged to go on the socialise, weren't we? The first couple of nights, and I remember basically getting absolutely steaming. With Brian O'Driscoll was there. I thought it was the best thing ever because drinking with a legend of the game, and he was loving life as well, obviously being in my company.
Future legend of the game.
Yeah.
How do I get rid of this pothole?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit!
He roomed with Manu.
Teammate.
He was
I
rooming with
can't.
Manu, wasn't he? Because Manu basically went out. They had the best time. Manu then ordered about 74 club sandwiches that turned up when he was asleep. So I think we just had to sign for them. It was and then Manu basically didn't eat them. We started eating them for breakfast the next day. We did that. I swear Shane Williams was out there or something. We met some
no, because
he came out later in the tour, but I swear he was in...
Yeah, the Barbars were playing out there. So
Well,
they
the Barbars, yeah.
Jimbo was there.
Oh,
wasn't he?
because that's what...
Big Jim.
Yeah. They were in the same hotel, weren't they? Because they were sitting in the pool occasionally.
Yeah. Absolutely steaming.
Yeah, because Castro was playing as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's it. Castro, yeah.
And Parise, and it was quite...
Well, I can't remember who was coaching them, but the story goes along the lines of the Barbars. He was like, right, boys. He basically... It was on the Thursday, and he's like, boys, I'm going to have to put you on a drinking ban. You just can't drink anymore. It's against the Lions. The Bar hasn't never had this opportunity. I can't do it. And I think it was Sergio Parise or someone was it Sergio? I think it was Sergio Parise.
Sergio played.
Yeah, or Harry Nordicky, I think maybe played in it as well. Maybe it was one of those guys that basically said, yeah, no worries. We'll have a team meeting. I'll sort it out. The coaches leave. He said, boys, fuck that. Everyone get your casuals. We're going straight out.
Fair play.
Die Young, coached
the best like trip. Who was Harry
Die
Nordic?
Young was, yeah.
It was Harry Nordic.
Harry Nordic was on the bench, yeah.
Was Sergio Parise play?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Parise was,
Yeah, so I think it was Parise and Harry Nordic were basically like, yeah, no worries, we'll sort it out. We'll make sure, we'll get the heads off. It's like, right, everyone go get your casuals, going straight out. So absolute chaos.
So we then, I think we were on the piss like the first 2 days. I mean, our main training session was like the Wednesday. And it was like 40 odd degrees.
They did some fitness with us as well. They wanted to do some heat training, fitness.
Yeah.
They'll give us a spike. What the fuck are we doing that? Just being on the piss for 2 days. You're worried about fitness.
Well, so we had heart rates, didn't we? And they were literally like over 200. Yeah. Like blokes were literally spiking because I think humidity was like 90 odd, something like that. The heat was about
horrendous.
40. It was horrific. That was when Jamie Roberts came on a short line against Matt Stevens and bounced off his stomach. No, yeah, those YouTube videos, people like hitting each other with like.
You know those if you know when. When women are pregnant and they bounce on that ball, before they go into labour. Imagine like Swiss ball, Swiss ball is, the Swiss ball. You pick up the Swiss ball, right? And you've ever seen the Swiss ball challenge when you run into each other? Yeah. That was the sauce, Matt Stevens, full belly full of lager and all sorts. And Jamie Roberts came on the short ball.
The
Matt
famous
Stevens
Jamie Roberts
around,
line,
and he literally Sauce like absorbed all of Jamie Roberts' like power and energy into the gut and just propelled him about 30 metres backwards.
And they grabbed the guitar and was like, singing along.
So good.
Like we played the Barbarians, and it was up there probably with the worst game of rugby because no one could catch the ball. It was so humid,
so slippery.
It was so slippery, and like the Barbars had been on the piss literally all week. The Lions were sort of coming together.
They couldn't see because the alcohol was like,
and it was horrific conditions to watch a game, and never mind play it.
The Farrell and Brit, Scott Brits whacked Fazza, didn't he?
Did he?
Owen, yeah.
Yeah, they remember that because
they were
teammates, and he was around the ruck. I think he like grabbed him, and then he like tried to like
probably went for him.
Proper went for him. It's like you imagine you didn't end up going on tour because your club mates would have been like cracked your jaw or something. But yeah, so that was that one, and then we went from there, and then we flew to Perth, didn't we? So you'd got a Lions cap at this point.
Yep.
And your first was Western Force, same as me, yeah. Because it's weird. It's a weird feeling when everyone's sort of getting that, and you're thinking, oh please, I just got to get out there now. I just got to get a game. I just got to play. I've got to play at least a minute. Of course, Keane Healy, unfortunately, he got injured in that Western Force game, didn't he? Did his ankle very badly.
He did actually.
And it just shows you like
because he was a good bloke actually, wasn't he? Because he was in Hong Kong. Keane Healy was very good at getting the piss and bringing everyone together. So it was a big loss actually. See him go. Yeah,
popular guy. And then then once you're up and away, it just comes thick and fast, doesn't it? It just comes,
doesn't it? Just
like you're relocating.
Because Australia's so big as well. You got to fly to places, so you literally Perth's 5 hours from anywhere.
Although one time we did normally fly, but one time we played a team in Newcastle on the East Coast. And then we had to get a bus.
It was like combined counties.
Which Matt Stevens came to his own with the microphone at the front. Yeah. He was hamming out song lyrics, wasn't he? Making everyone sing.
Gats had made we played Western Force and went Queensland Reds, which was Suncorp.
That was a good game.
Yeah, that was you scored in that.
I did score in that.
It was wet. That was wet.
Yeah. It was wet. Great stadium, Suncorp though.
I think I started in that one, Coley.
You started. It was you, Mako, and Matt Stevens.
Sauce.
Richie Gray, Jeff Powling, yeah. We played Western Force in Perth and won convincingly 69-17. We won that.
Yeah,
Brian Driscoll and Manu were very good in the centres that day.
What was the score?
69-17.
Yeah, probably be similar again this year.
I love this.
And then we flew to Brisbane and we played at Suncorp, which is a brilliant stadium.
Awesome stadium.
And we played the Queensland Red. That was a bit tougher. We won that 22-12.
Imagine it had been dry though. Would have pumped them.
Where did Yog score? Yog scored a world.
Waratahs.
Was that the Waratahs?
Down the wing, yeah. And then the bloke ran into and the prop hit him. He was like,
no, it was the 12, wasn't it? Or something?
12 like bitched him. He's off. Giving all hard ones. He left half his lid down the wing as well.
Because from there,
Brisbane's a good night out. By the way, I remember going out after that game. That was good.
And
night.
actually, that genuinely was the Lions, wasn't it? Like you'd have some beers. Like, and it was such a. You say it was whistle stop. It was like two nights here, bag packed, boom, gone, and you'd be able to have some good laughs.
Yeah, because we played them on the 8th, and we must have like changed on the 9th because the 11th we were playing combined New South Wales and Queensland
that was
Country.
Like 90 points, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 64-0.
Was that in Newcastle?
That was in Newcastle, yeah. And that was
Stuart Hobbs
basically...
played 10 in that one, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. But yeah, they basically... I think they were like amateurs, weren't they?
They were. Bless them.
And yeah, they...
And then we travelled by bus, didn't we, somewhere?
That was Newcastle, yeah. Then we went to Sydney, because Sydney is underneath it. We travelled on a bus.
And that's
Did
when...
we stop on that bus together?
Yes, we did, yeah.
And we went swimming.
Yes.
And you nearly fucking drowned. It was like length there and back. Holy
yeah, for recovery.
So
fucking hell.
So we did. We
Paul
went
was
to,
massive.
we went to a school.
Boom,
it was
like
a private school we went to,
yeah.
and our full length 50-meter Olympic sized swim pool in the thing. We thought we were going to a school. It was honest like.
Did you have polo? You know the hats you have to wear.
I think we. I don't know if we.
I'm sure we had to
I
wear
think
that.
we did.
We
Yeah.
had to do
So we got in
That's
teams.
a better story. You definitely were
Yeah,
wearing
yeah,
one.
yeah. We definitely had to get in teams of 4, right? We had to get in teams of 4, and it was
a relay.
like we would do a
So who
relay
wants to
race.
go to Coley? No,
I was like,
Bobby was like, fucking relay, lads, fucking relay.
I'm not a good swimmer, lads. Anyway, so we start. Whoever runs the first length is brilliant. I'm on the second leg. I've like jumped in. And I've got about 10 metres in. And I'm cramping. I played fucking 70 minutes. I'm cramping. I'm like that. My hamstrings are gone. So anyway, I'm like, try to touch the bottom. And it's like 3 metres deep. So I'm like, oh no. So I'm like, I had to hold on to the side. And I'm like, just go. It's been really competitive. Like, pull it. I'm like, just go.
People
I'm like,
probably
I'm
got into it.
dying.
It's like-
And I was like stuck in the middle of this pool. And I was literally like,
Bobby's like, fucking hell, Cooley's drowning. Fucking Cooley's drowning.
I'd like tow myself along this
like
line
Bobby
to
then.
get. I couldn't get out. I was
Bobby,
like,
I thought I'd lost you.
shit.
Yeah, he didn't chucking a life jacket, mate. Just chucking the rope.
Yeah.
Grab onto this cool.
Grab hold of this.
As
As
your
you bring
dad's
it
seen
ashore.
that. So yeah, that was
In
that
joke,
was that
use your
school, yeah.
imaginations.
We trained at that school, but that was also at that point. I think Matt Stevens had said to the group, "We're going to Gatsby. Like, we need something to pull us more together." And Gats is like, "Yeah, we're going to get a tour choir." So we get a thing. So Matt Stevens had spent like the previous 3 days getting like a songbook together, hadn't he?
Yep.
And basically, and then he was like, there were all songs that conveniently he could play on the guitar that we could sing along to.
Yeah.
Right.
Kumbai fucking arm.
So we did that. So Sauce was obviously there, giving it the absolute big and down the front. Everyone sings along. And Sauce was fuming because then Zeebs came up and did. He did a rap, and then Corbs did a freestyle.
No. Well, Sean Maitland could beatbox.
Oh,
couldn't
that's
he?
right, yeah.
So Sean
Yes.
Maitland to the front, and he's like literally, like Sean Maitland is giving like you the mic, and then like
Sauce is sat like this.
no, but it was like literally, it'd be like. Sean Maitland was beatbox. Everyone likes to get into it, like love it live. And literally, as soon as he finished, everyone's like cheering. Sauce just stole the mic off. He was like, sing along, sing along.
Page 3, everyone, in your books.
Back to me. I can play this guitar left hand as well.
Yeah.
Back to me. And then Corbs did a freestyle, didn't he?
Yeah, rap,
and he was
yeah.
unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And this
Very
point,
aggressive with his freestyles, wasn't he?
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
At this point, Sauce is like...
Because Corbs got called out. Corbs not called out. Corbs got called out for Keane Healy after that first
Yes,
game. Basically, he was playing in like England against Uruguay or something like that, wasn't he? Basically, had to take a ridiculous trip round. But yeah, no, I remember that.
So right, hang on, let's get back on track slowly. So, given the fact that after that game we were then heading to play New South Wales,
Sorry, I will say Sauce's credit. We had the tour anthem, wasn't it? It was Little Lion Man, when it was by Mumford and Sons, and actually that kind of like that started it. I think.
Well,
That
it
was
did.
And they were on
But I
tour
remember-
out there, weren't they, as well? Didn't Jamie Roberts end up...
No, it was Manic Street Preachers.
Manic Street Preachers. But we were Little Lion Man was our song, and actually every time you hear it,
Yeah, it
sounds
does
a bit
it
corny,
all- I know, it
but it
sounds
does
corny. Yeah, it
automatically
does,
think of
yeah.
it. But I remember we went out on a restaurant, didn't we, one time? And everyone was waiting for steaks, and steaks finally arrived, and Sauce is obviously eating his. He obviously got served earlier. And next minute, he's up on the table, isn't he? Getting everyone to sing Little Lion Man. It's like, well, hang on, I want to eat my... Oh, yeah, all right,
Just
Sauce.
finish this, Sauce.
And he's just absolutely giving it large ones. Right, point being. So now we're at New South Wales, so we're in Sydney, getting ready for that game. So at this stage, like, who you getting along with on tour? Who you beginning to sort of bond with, other than obviously English lads?
I spent quite a bit of time because I was rooming with Adam Jones
Yeah.
in Sydney, so I spent time with him, and then he was obviously tight with Hibbard and Alan Wynne, so I actually sort of got invited out for coffee to them a fair bit, so I spent time with them, and that's when I found out that actually they're all right blokes. I mean, despite having beaten us 30 points to 3 and rubbed our face in it in thing, that actually if they'd been born in Leicester, we'd have gotten quite well.
I'll give you like tips. Sean O'Brien, like just Roy Best, I was getting on well with, like Hibbard, Adam Jones as well. I room with him a bit. Foxy, you know, these guys, you sort of get to know them more, and you come together to do one job and win a series, and you all know that you have to leave whatever you've got in the past behind and just plough into this and put it all in there. And it was just such good fun, wasn't it? To get to know each other, and you've got to do it quickly, and you're going to play, and to watch some of these absolute worldies of players actually train with them and all that sort of stuff. Unbelievable to be a part of it, really.
And I know we've sort of digressed and told stories and had a laugh, but ultimately
serious.
all those situations allow you to get camaraderie and cohesion so much quicker. And I think that's what makes the Lions unique. You play thick and fast, but you've also got to have socials, you've got to have a good time, you've got to have characters, you've got to be people that are willing to put themselves out there, like Sauce and his guitar, to try and get the group together. And that's what makes it unique.
When you make the selection, that's what you've got to look at. What is the individual like as a person in a group of players? Is he a good laugh? And that, because ultimately that's what you need out there.
Well,
you come together quicker, you make a better team quicker, don't you?
One thing I look back on and say those Lions tours are like, Gatlin, he didn't really coach too much, and his coach's coach, and he was quite aloof. And I spoke to him, I think, twice over those 2 tours. But actually, look at the squads he picked. He knew people, he knew which players it was, and everyone in those squads were good tourists. You know what I mean? And the third choice blokes, or second, third choice blokes, actually brought some into the party, and they actually added to the tour as a whole. They didn't sulk that they weren't playing and stuff. No. And we laugh about Matt Stevens there, but the fact we're talking about him
shows
12 years later showed good at what he added to the tour. Actually, those memories are made, and that's what you know what I mean. And those things that Gatlin and those Lions things, you total credit in regards to the blokes he brought out were nailed on and made it such a great tour.
Definitely.
There's always stuff going on. I did the Harbour Bridge though. Went over that.
Did you?
Yeah. Mate, no chance of doing that.
Harnessed up, mate.
Remember, you got your cap on. You look like a little 2-year-old.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. We had to have some Lions branding, so I had to wear a cap.
Yeah.
It
takes about 5 hours.
There's a boat I went on. Remember that?
That's a ferry, mate. Gets you over the cross.
We did go on that.
That gets you to Manly, mate.
Is it a catamaran? No. Is it what's the ones when it's the net in the middle?
Yeah.
It is.
We do that.
Went on one of them.
1-0. We got him.
Have I just
1-0 finally?
Yeah.
No, because I'm thinking with one of the World Cups, 2011, we went on.
Yeah, went on that. We must have done it. We must
have done it. It was a sponsorship thing, so it's quite cool.
That is one.
I think that's when you were on the bridge, though.
Yeah, I just remember being it was a day where everyone had to do events. Oh, there we are. There we are. So it's myself, Jeff, Crofty, and Manu. There we are. That was good fun, actually. Good.
One thing I'll say about team bonding was we've mentioned it briefly, but Paul Stridgen.
Yes.
He did the Bobby Cup, didn't he?
Yeah. He's the S&C guy, legend. AK the rope.
He did a Room Raiders video, didn't he? Where it's with Mako Vunipola, whose room's this? Yeah. And basically walked into the room and open the wardrobe, a load of KFC and stuff fell out. I was like, guess whose it is? And then he went to there was a lawyer on tour, wasn't there?
Yeah,
it was a lawyer, it was probably legal representation who literally had nothing to do all tour. So he was like, here he is with all these handbooks and whiskey and always love cigars. You get always a stack load of cash. So you get paid to do nothing. And then he's knocked on he did another one, a third one, he knocked on the door, and it's whose room's this? He's the door's open. And he opens it up and it cuts away. And Henry the Hoover just pops up, sucks a load of white powder and drops down. It's Sauce's room. And
I didn't know if you were going to tell us.
Half the room were sat the other side, crying with laughter. And then half sat next to him like this. Didn't know what to do.
Hey, little Iron Man boys. And on that note, Sauce, get your guitar out. For those who don't know, that Matt did get a ban for substance.
I think he agreed. Great choice was he agreed beforehand to do it, but
there was another one though where
the security guards.
Then the security guards, and they were torturing Bobby in a bath. They're
actually waterboarded him.
Let's go do that.
Basically, the end of these
Bobby, I actually enjoyed it doing it.
It's the winner of the Bobby Cup would be, and he could basically give it to the player, wouldn't he? Which became a big thing. But unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Right, I think we've sort of encumbered the spirit of the Lions regarding
no rugby
at all. We just talked about what we did off the field.
Play with sea, lads. Play with sea.
Yeah, we should probably get down to business and actually talk about the tests.
Yeah.
So Australia was actually stacked full of really good players. From James Horwell, Michael Hooper, Will Genia, Curtly Beale, Ash Adam Cooper, Christian Leofanu, James O'Connor, Stephen Moore, and Israel Folau made his debut. So that was the first test was in Brisbane. And Australia were known at the time, weren't they? For basically, they don't lose in Brisbane, especially like first tests and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were. Do you remember the build up to that week?
Well, I remember the build up the night before because I remember the Lion. There was fans outside all chanting Lions, and we were eating, and I remember that the night before the game.
Because earlier in that week, and I think this might have been a bit of a change, we went to Canberra and lost to the Brumbies 14-12, and it was a massive change because a lot of blokes with a lot of knocks and injuries, and a lot of guys got called out. It's a bit of a rotated team, but we lost to the Brumbies, and I think it was the only game we lost in that tour. But I think it kind of, up to that point, we'd smashed everybody. And I think after that Brumbies game, it was kind of like, oh fuck, we need to
pull
nail
ourselves,
down because like we are actually playing a test soon, and they're not just going to roll over. And so I remember going up to Brisbane, and it was quite a. Do you remember the warm up? I remember being absolutely gassed in the warm up.
I think
the emotion and the adrenaline of that sort of like.
I think like when you, because usually
night kick-off as well.
Night kick-off for one. Well, we were used
so long to think about it.
Yeah.
And I think with the night before you had the Lions, I think also what you don't have with England or stuff like that is that you walk straight off the hotel into the bus, don't you? Like there's about 4,000 fans as we came out of the hotel, and all that emotion, wasn't it? Like hit you, and it's like you say, Cole, it was actually quite draining, really, in some regards. But the warm up was, I remember absolutely blowing in the warm up, and then thinking, Christ, how long am I going to get for a game in this? But and it was the Lions crowd is something to behold, isn't it? It is so
when they
special.
say about Sea of Red,
It
is
is
literally there was like. One
Yeah.
end of the stadium was all red, and it was all the fans in there. It was like official gear and stuff like that, and it was the noise they were making was incredible.
Yeah, incredible.
Well, I remember that they also gave all the Aussies little hats, didn't they?
Even like the
just to
circus,
try
because the whole thing was like they were the Lions tamers, weren't they? Lion tamers.
Yes, that's
it,
right.
yeah.
And then sort of they always had like the safari hats.
Safari hats
like,
just calms down, little tamers. Yeah.
But jersey presentation.
Ian Geach came in and gave
Sir
that to
Ian
us.
McGeechan, which I didn't realise until just now. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, you didn't, did you? I remember it. Well, yeah.
But you started that
I did start that
because you went almost in some regards went on that tour as not a flyer.
So actually, to be fair, Gatlin said to me before the Waratahs game, just said to me, "Don't settle for the 16 shirt." And I was like, "Okay." And I played, went well in that at that Waratahs game, and then it ended up getting the starting position. Yeah, so that was pretty special, as you can imagine. But yeah, it was. Paulo, that game was a knife edge game, wasn't it? I know Curtly Bill missed it, the kick at the end, but that was a hell of a game. There's some serious tries in that game, wasn't there?
Yeah, George North try. Even Cuthbert's try.
Cuthbert's try, second half.
But
Paul O'Connell broke his wrist in that game, didn't he?
Carried on
playing on that.
We had Will Genyer on the podcast a while back. Really good listen. So if you haven't listened to that, check it out. But we talk about the try that he sorted out for Falau. Falau scored 2, but the quick tap from Genyer,
on his own,
the assist,
10 minutes from his own line,
and everything like that. And then he talks about Bill slipping over and how it still haunts him to this day. It's like, just wear studs, Curtly. Just wear studs.
He remembers, he's like,
Well, that came off I think it was a clap scrum they got the penalty for.
Yeah.
At the end of the game, because I remember basically getting raked over the coals by Graham Roundtree.
Cheers,
so then had to play in the next midweek game, and basically it was like, if you don't play this, you're not playing any of the tests. I was like, I'm
sorry, Graham.
But that was let's say that came down to the last kick of the end. It missed as they slipped over.
I think I think Crofty alluded to it, or I can remember when you guys alluded to it. Like the pre-games, you're up to them. The intensity is high, but it's not like a test intensity, and you can't create that in training because you've got a midweek game and a Saturday game, so it's very hard. You're limited with numbers. But yeah, that first test was a tough game. Real tough game, and there was nothing in it really, was there?
No, there
wasn't a lot in it. And you say that they didn't lose there either, so there was a massive emotion hanging over there for them.
Do we know much about Falau at that point? Because he'd just come over.
Not really.
No.
He'd obviously done AFL. He'd done rugby league, and he'd just come over. Everyone knew how good he was in the air.
Yeah.
But until you actually play against him live or watch him live, you don't realise quite how good he is in the air.
Yeah.
Like the guy hovers. Like he doesn't.
He literally jumps.
He reaches peak height, doesn't he? Yeah. And then stays there. It feels like for 2 seconds before coming down.
Yeah, no one really knew. There was a lot of talk about him because I think he had started at NRL, didn't he? Then moved to AFL, which is Aussie rules, and basically all the papers and stuff, depending on where you're in the country, were talking about his transition, how much money he was getting paid, all that kind of stuff. And it was like, oh, it's not that good. And then literally, he was.
Yeah, it was very good.
The North vs Falau battle was
something special, wasn't it?
It was. Because also they were like a generation of big wingers.
Yeah.
Like that.
And they were big.
100-odd kilo plus wingers that could move, that could step, break tackles. That battle in itself was, like, I remember that throughout the series being class. So Lions won that game 23-21. Bill obviously slipped over. Lions take the first test win. Can you remember in the change rooms after, what the feeling?
I think a bit of relief, a bit of reality. We potentially got away with it, but I think just very happy to win the first test. That's what you set out to do. You win ugly sometimes, and that was that. And I think we're all sort of probably a bit exhausted from the whole build up to it. I felt anyway, and relieved that we'd won it. Yeah,
kind of then set up. After that, we then went down to Melbourne, didn't we, for the midweek game against the Rebels.
Play the Rebels midweek.
Yeah,
thrashed them. I think
we did beat them.
It was quite convincing. It was quite nervy, I think, to be with them. We sort of just beat them quite convincingly.
We did. I remember actually playing in that game.
Dan Lydiot captain that side then.
Lydiot.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Lydiot was captain.
He played bloody well on that, he did.
I remember that one as well because of Matt Stevens, once again. We were attacking the Melbourne Rebels line and we had a call to pick and go. And I shouted this call, let's just say it's pod. I shouted pod, and as I shouted pod, Matt Stevens looked down at the ball to like pick it up and go. As he looked down, he got absolutely blindsided and like got clattered. Being the jiu-jitsu expert he is, he's quite flexible. He basically did the splits, like he literally kissed his cock as he got bent in half, right? And they counter-rucked and stole the ball. They shifted to the far edge, literally go the length, and someone doesn't make, like, they kick it away or they do a cover tackle or something, and they end up sort of 10 metres from our own line.
Yeah.
Sauce exhausted and having got out of the self-pretzel, he then like jumps back and he's like, Lenny, did you say pod there? Did you say picking? I said, no, Sauce. I said, fucking keep your head up, mate, because they're going to counter-ruck. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, my friend. I'm sorry, my friend. Anyway, big shout out to Mac over in Polar because he loves that story.
Mac, yeah.
But we won that one.
You melted your shoulder in that.
I
You hit the
did.
post.
And actually, do you know what? I scored, and the fullback and winger were like
Right,
coming in
yeah.
both either side. I had no room to go, so I had to dive, and I hit the post protector, and I really clattered my shoulder. And luckily, the great Phil Pask, brilliant physio, managed to get me just about right, and I ended up starting that second test. But I had like nerve damage, and it was like delay, like it was just getting worse and worse. Luckily, it was okay to play in that game, and then it was pretty bad actually. I was out for a while after that.
In operation.
Yeah,
No,
you
just
just have to leave
wait
it.
and
You
wait.
have to
for
wait.
it
It's
to-
sort of
yeah.
like 4 or 5 months after. But building up to that second test, like the Aussies were double die. They knew that. We obviously not had a buffer, not that we think like that, but obviously won the first test. But I remember that one because the pitch was so far away from the crowd, wasn't it, where we played?
Wasn't a nice stadium, really.
It wasn't
felt
great.
so disjointed to what we'd experienced the week
Huge,
before.
yeah.
And then that was huge. But as you say, it sat in the middle with an athletics. It was
I can't even remember.
It's Aussie rules.
Aussie
It's
rules.
Aussie
Aussie
rules.
rules. I think
It's
it's
such a
it's
big
the
stadium.
Docklands, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
So it's
so
massive.
far away from the crowd.
Yeah.
I remember
I think
that.
the cricket there as well. I think it's basically a cricket
Yeah,
pitch
I just
playing.
felt like it was a real...
Yeah, because the bench was sat
You
literally
literally-
in the middle of the
Well, the bench was probably 20 metres away from the nearest.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
those to say like the fans. Yeah, your bench was almost sat in like just one of these chairs.
chairs,
really,
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
I think with
it was
that
quite cold
one,
as
though,
well. I think.
I remember sort of being in the changing rooms and obviously getting ready for the game and like walking out, and it's like that. You're like, oh, am I ready for this? Like, am I ready for the magnitude of this game? Like, is this, am I ready for what's coming in terms of like the crowd and everything like that, and that pressure of like, you can wrap up the series there and then.
Yeah.
And it was sort of that pressure as well. It's like we don't want it to go to the third test,
You want to win 3-0, don't you?
Exactly. We just want to get it wrapped up. And yeah, I remember they were dicking around at the scrum, and we kept getting free kicks about 4 times.
Yeah, we did. And Mako just it wasn't like just referee got on their side, and yeah, we just loads of free kicks. We just couldn't get set piece going at all, and they knew that Australia knew if we couldn't get a set piece going, we were not limited, but we were very much a set piece team, and we couldn't get it going.
Yeah.
And it was a close. What was the final score in that game? I don't.
16-15 to Australia.
Adam
It was
Ashley
close.
Cooper.
Crashed
over.
Halfpenny had a kick right at the end, didn't he?
He
as
was
well?
from miles out.
Miles
as well.
It was ridiculous.
It was
to be fair.
It was Curtly Bill last week. That's not got the distance from Lee Halfpenny this week.
So I remember
We should have kicked the corner,
yeah,
really.
It was just
but I
like
remember after the game in the
Warby
hotel,
got injured in
he
that
was-
one, didn't he?
Warby hurt his
He pulled his
hamstring.
Yes, tore his hamstring,
And
didn't
then
he?
basically, I remember because there was two things I remember. I think he was getting taken off the field, and there was two doctors. I think Pasky was the physio was on one arm, and the doctor was on the other. And then this doctor, because it came on the big screen, got pushed out the way
By another doctor. I know exactly what you're talking
to
about.
get on the screen. Basically,
Yeah.
wanted some screen time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
You meet all
Halfers, I
sorts.
remember after the game, Halfers was literally sort of like almost in tears.
he was like beating himself up.
But
He missed
really-
the kick. It was like,
it was
Lee, you're 70 metres out, mate. What
Yeah,
are you
but
thinking,
it was
mate?
like, but the bloke was so gutted. It was like everyone in the squad's like kind of like, mate, it's like it's
Do
a
you remember
kick,
he never-
a kick to nothing. You know what I mean? It's so hard to kick. We didn't expect you. You could have been a hit, but like
Yeah.
you didn't lose as the game.
No.
But he was so like I remember just being
That
like
was a tight game, that was.
Well,
Yeah.
Adam Ashley Cooper scored, didn't he? And Australia won it. And then let's take our memory back now to that final week, heading for the final test, 1-1 in the series, and just where everyone was at that point. You say like Lee Halfpenny was beating himself up for like 2 days because of the kick, but we ended up going to Noosa, didn't we?
yeah.
And I think that fair balls to Gatlin on
Yeah.
this, like, because he had a plan, and his
Yeah.
plan was like, whatever happens, we're going to Noosa to have
Well,
a breakaway from
Yeah,
all.
basically, we've either won the series, so we'll go and celebrate. We've
Yeah.
lost the series, so we'll go commiserate, or it's in the balance. In which case, let's just get away from it for a couple
Yeah.
of days and like get
Because
together and enjoy
we'd
it.
probably experienced coaches who would emotionally react to that and say, "No, we're not doing that now." And
Well, the easy thing to do is like you go train, don't you?
go and train.
a week, and actually
Yeah.
Gatlin sort of fair play. We flew up to Noosa, and which is right by the beach on the sort of Gold
We
Coast. I
got
think it is.
shit
Is it
faced.
Gold Coast? Is it?
I don't know. It's just all we end up. Just
I
getting
remember
so
trying
pissed.
surfing. And that was no good at that.
It was just a.
Well, we just got picked. I
Mind
remember
you-
Alan Jones drinking out of your shoe, Coley.
Yeah.
I also can you remember though being on the beach, right? And a random guy coming over with a guitar, which obviously put Sauce's nose out of joint.
Sauce, take it off him.
And a random guy coming up and be like, "Oh guys, you're the rugby team here. Like, do you mind if we play your song?" And we're like, "Yeah, we do." It's like, "Well, you don't want me to play a song?" He's like, "Oh, let me just give you a little one." And like one of the lads was like, "Yeah, all right, if you must." And he did like a remix of like he did R. Kelly remix of Ignition, right? And he was just like, "Oh, it's the most awkward thing, you know?" When you're just like, "No one wanted this," and now you're
No
like,
one picked this.
now you're like singing to us all. And I just remember that being really uncomfortable.
I can't remember that. I'm glad about
Maybe
that.
it's the
I can't
hungover.
remember,
Yeah.
yeah. But no, we had a good old drink up, didn't we? A couple of, well, how many days did we have?
I think that's where I got the nickname, the Sheriff. You know,
It
was
was.
in Noosa.
You had a little hat at the end of the table. Remember
Yeah.
that bar open?
Yeah.
And you were down there, and
We
they
were basically like in the like conservatory,
and you were
area of,
literally
like,
giving out the fines to people to do whatever. The shoe,
And Tips loved it.
Yeah.
And that was
Yeah.
it. The sheriff, mate.
the sheriff stuck.
Big shout out to Ken Owens. I know you're called the sheriff, mate, but we've got the original sheriff here, so I know that'll upset you.
So we trained in Noosa. We had 2 days. I think we had 3 days in Noosa. We probably did.
I think
We flew Sunday. Then we did maybe Sunday, Monday,
and then we then trained
Tuesday off. And
Yeah.
then we trained
Trained
Wednesday.
Wednesdays when
Yeah.
we trained.
And that was when like the greatest Lions try ever. was
Training
scored.
try was scored.
Because when did the squad get? When did
I think the
get
squad got announced that morning.
because that was when Gatlin. Picked,
Yeah, I think
basically-
we had the Tuesday off, and I'm pretty sure because he was talking to people on that Tuesday.
He
everyone-
got picked in Noosa, 100%.
Yeah, but no, I meant on that. I think it was before. It was either was it the night or was it before training?
It was before training. It was before training.
Yeah, because it was
On the
literally
Wednesday?
like on the Wednesday. And
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was like everyone was like, and fuck me, we got
because
well,
Driscoll was out. Famously, Driscoll
Yeah.
got dropped for that third test, didn't he? And basically, Gatlin picked a lot of Welsh guys.
yeah,
Yeah,
he did basically.
All the Welsh guys apart from Ian Evans.
Ian Evans. Which when we were having a beer all
Yeah.
together, the lads who weren't involved, and I think he said he got this tray of drinks, and he was like, "It's all right, Dricko. Try being the only Welshman not getting picked for this game." Like, I think it dawned on him that his international career was over.
But yeah, that training session. I was on the bench. You were on the bench, Golly, weren't you? On that
Yes,
game? Yeah. We're both on the bench, and yeah, we were actually training with the. I think we were with
I
the
remember two things. I remember, I think Johnny Sexton
lost it with
lost
Hibbs.
at Hib
And
Hibbard
Hib,
because
yeah.
to basically peel off a line. I was in Hib, messed it up like
Didn't
once,
do it
twice,
correctly.
basically like
It's
that.
2 inches too right to the right.
And then
Yeah,
the world class training try that got scored.
yeah,
which was Wadey.
Yeah.
That
we
was-
did. Didn't we do like a defence as like a channel thing and like people get absolutely smoked. Brian Driscoll was like smoking people, turning over the ball, like just destroying the whole Jaws.
I do actually remember that. There was something like that.
It was like a free, you know, you had to,
Because I remember
like
Tips getting
four,
stealing about the
four,
ball.
four. I think
Tips,
it's like-
Tips stole a load as well.
Yeah, I think
And I
it's
don't blame the lads.
yeah.
Like,
you had to run into like those 4. I think it was like 4 fours in like a 5-meter channel or something like that. When it basically you had to carry into it and retain the ball.
Yeah.
But then,
we definitely touched on the emotion part of Australia, didn't we? Though we talked like clips came up with them crying and how much that would take out of them. Really.
Faz, I remember Faz really clearly saying, as in Andy Farrell,
that was their
saying that they won't be able to get to those heights again. Like emotionally, they just won't be able to. It took so much of them to beat us 16-15 in the death. And Ash Cooper, he was like, they're not going to get to their boys. They won't get to those heights. And he was right. Like
you can think of times in your career where that's happened, where you've done whatever game and then to back it up, it's very, very difficult. Very difficult.
So the third test. So we obviously moved back to Sydney. After training on the Wednesday, I think.
Yeah.
We're done Thursday, probably captain run Friday.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, I think, day of the game, we moved hotels.
Yeah.
Because the Olympic Stadium.
Yeah.
I think so. The Olympic Stadium's quite far out. So I think
we stayed
boys
literally on the stadium, didn't we, Colt?
But I think we moved that. I think that day we went.
Moved.
Had a day room basically by the stadium because it was going to take us an hour and a bit to get across Sydney at that time of night. And then because I can't remember.
Boys who weren't playing on a different floor.
Yeah.
You could go on the piss and do whatever you wanted to.
Yeah.
No, we stayed in Sydney.
No, I meant on the
in the hotel
on the hotel on the
Sydney
Friday
City
night.
Centre,
You were like on different floors.
Sorry,
you didn't wake anyone up. And then we
because that was by the we were near the harbour, weren't we? When we stayed in Sydney. Because I remember
yes, we were. Right by the harbour. Yeah.
So during that week in the build-up, I think we moved back to Sydney at this point. Andy Farrell makes his iconic Hurt Locker speech.
We are taking them boys to the Hurt Arena this weekend.
Which I think ties in with what we're saying about... I think it was a bit of a theme for the tour, wasn't it? Basically,
it was, yeah.
Going to a place that... and holding a team down in that area or, going for as long as you can, as hard as you can in that sort of dark area and then see new breaks. Faz makes that speech.
Yeah.
We then moved... Sorry, I'm big on this hotel move. One of my memories is being sat in like pre-game and Gats talking to us and was basically like, we're going to be physical with them and then we're going to be more physical with them and then we're going to be more physical with them. And it was just like... Right, which
pound
would be
of rock.
Yeah.
Pound of rock, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But literally the game was quite close.
Very close.
Although we blew them out 41-16, it was only about...
They came out flying, to be fair. They came out flying and you're right, Cole. We blew them post that second half, like 10-minute window post second half.
Corp scored
first minute.
Yeah.
And
first
then
minute, because he missed the second test. He was in, I think...
He pulled his calf.
He
hurt his calf in the first
test. Played through that for about 60 minutes.
And then
missed the second test and then came back for the third.
Yeah.
And then scored straight away, which I say was one of those Lions things where he's not even supposed to be on the tour and next thing he's opening the score and in the test.
That's how it goes.
And then I think O'Connor and Leofano, it says here, scored. So Australia scored all their points basically with 40 minutes. So half time, I think it was...
Very tight.
Yeah. Was half time 60? Well, I don't know what half time was, but half time was tight. And it was only, look at the score, Sexton scored 57 minutes.
They had another attack, I think, must be in the late 40, like 48, 50s, well, I can't remember exactly, but we kept them out.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Well,
I was on the field, I came on pretty early second half, and I remember that. I think Lids hit someone and the ball spilt out, and that was a big... in those moments in games, you're like, Christ, if they score here now, we are in proper trouble.
Yeah.
And managed to turn them over. And as you say, Jamie Roberts. Did Jamie Roberts score then? Who scored?
Well, Sexton scored.
Sexton scored down the left-hand side.
Yeah, 57.
Halfpenny score?
North scored 64, and then Roberts scored 67, which is off the scrum anyway, basically just runs through everyone.
Yeah.
Ending up with a 41-16 win to Lions. Halfpenny actually scored 21 points, finishing the tour with a record of 49 points in the test. It's incredible, really.
It's Lions win. What are your memories post final whistle? Do you remember the presentation?
Not really.
Not really.
I remembered I was right by you. Like this whistle went, boom, big hug. Like everyone was just overjoyed by it, and you kind of could enjoy that last bit there because you knew you were in so control of the game. You could really so it wasn't like that tense finish we'd had the last two games of like the 1 points and that. You could actually generally go, right, we've got this in the bag, and you could really enjoy that. The stadium, been running around and great. And I don't really remember the presentation too much, but I remember walking around the pitch, thanking the fans and taking it all in really, and then into the change room. And
so there's loads of change room photos. I remember that. Was Daniel Craig there?
Daniel Craig was there.
He came in. I remember Tommy Bowe, someone swapped his trousers out.
out.
He had
His
the
tightest
trousers in the
yeah.
world.
I was trying to have a photo with the cup, and Crofty was pouring beer over my head, and I remember just being totally drunk.
It's a good picture, though.
There's a good picture, but cheers, yo. We then went to Sydney Opera House, didn't
Yes.
we? That's where we ended up.
Yeah, we did.
Mate.
And that's when there's the official presentation of like Thankful Lions tour, that kind of stuff.
Everyone was so smashed though.
Yeah,
No one
yeah.
can remember it.
And then we ended up going to a nightclub with a pool in the
Pool in
didn't
it,
we?
yeah.
Yeah.
And blokes would just
Jumping in
the
it.
pool.
Yeah. I don't think I went to bed.
Well, is that when you had
Cocktail
sticks
yeah.
in your head?
Yeah.
Myself and Crofty were trying to throw Neil Jenkins over the bar. But Jenks's knee used to always swell up, didn't it? Because he used to run on the kicking tee and he has to get his knee drained afterwards. I reckon that knee, because he'd obviously ran on the kicking tee for that third test and hadn't had it drained post-game, so we'd been on the piss. We couldn't lift him up over the bar. I reckon that swelled knee was another 35 kilos on him. We couldn't get him over the bar. We could not get him over the bar. He was loving it as well. Jenks was loving it. Man of few words, but what a guy. So then we just lobbed ice cubes at his head for the next hour.
Nice.
We had a debrief after, didn't we? The next day, the morning, about 10:30. I remember it's still in my number ones, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we went to
Was he on a bus, didn't we?
Byron Bay, didn't we? No, yeah, Bondi Beach. Bondi Beach, yeah.
But I think we came down and Gats
Sky
basically.
Sports were right there.
But I'm pretty sure Gats had his.
He was straight off to New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. He went over straight
went
away.
over.
But we had to stay out because
we
I
were
think you
going
have to.
Wednesday. We flew out Wednesday.
Yeah, with
night.
Wednesday because I think you have to stay out for insurance purposes.
Yes.
You basically had to stay out to prove that there was nothing wrong
Wrong
with you,
with
no
you.
injuries in the final test.
That's
So for
a
insurance
fantastic
purposes,
idea, whoever.
So there's 48 hours or whatever it is. Basically, we didn't fly home till Wednesday.
Brilliant.
But I remember that, and we went to Bondi.
Bondi
basically, we
Beach.
there was a bar there, and we all sat around. And I remember at the same time, that was a day when I think a surfer got knocked off his board by a whale, but no one knew because everyone just sat with their backs to the beach like that. There was all this
We missed
calamity
everything.
It was all like the Australian national news and stuff, and it's like, really?
What's happening, Mark?
Really?
No, nothing.
Nah.
I remember leaving there and I was so drunk. I still remember it now, looking at my feet and just making sure one foot was going in front of the other to get up towards the taxis.
I got a taxi with Paul O'Connell because he stayed out. Basically, even with his broken arm, he stayed out. I think he flew home the Tuesday. So he flew home a bit early. Paul O'Connell, Rory Best, and Ian Evans, and myself. And basically, we got out of this taxi cab. They all needed a piss. I was like, lads, we can't. We're in a public area. Anyway, they've gone for a piss against this wall, and the coppers come around the corner. I'm like, lads, the coppers come around the corner. And literally, the pee stains on the wall. There's one this high, and Bestie's one that's down there. The coppers like, it's you three. And Bestie's like, not me. He's like, it is. Yeah. It's like, yeah, right. Yeah, we got off with that. Yeah, I remember that. And then that was then, because Paul O'Connell went home.
Yeah.
Left the toolkit with the fines budget with me. And then we went down to
to go and have a coffee down there.
Yeah, we went to have a coffee.
The bar bloke literally came over. He said, I'll be the first Aussie to buy you boys a drink. Yeah. And then we went again.
Yeah, we went for a coffee, basically had drinks. Then I think Bestie and Tommy Bowe joined us.
We ended up going out for
and then
food.
just more and more came, didn't they? And then we ended up in some restaurant.
And Crofty lost credit card roulette.
Did he?
Yes, he did.
And it was fucking brilliant.
That was a big expensive steakhouse, wasn't it?
1,400 quid or something.
And then he, because that was also Crofty's, decided to do the crawl across the crossing, didn't he? Like Trigger Happy TV.
Dom Jolly, yeah.
Dom Jolly,
remember that? It was like there were these cars thing. He's like, and he started crawling across really slow, and then the police have gone, mate, fuck off. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry.
sorry, friend, sorry. Yeah, it was just basically once it's won, that's it. The season's done. You've won a series. The season's so long.
41 games.
There you go.
Played that,
and everyone just has an almighty blowout. And then you get on the plane to go back, and everyone is fucked.
Well, some boys carried on. Filmsy was
Some lads carried on.
Yeah.
I think we got to whichever way we went home. I can't remember, but yeah, I think the first leg boys were on it, and then second leg they were just
crashed.
Yeah,
And then you get back to
reality.
Crofty
got married
to Heathrow, that was it. And then
weekend.
He got married a few days later.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, because I had all where I put the cocktail sticks was scalping them one.
So there we are. That is
Our Lions tour.
a very rough, loose, un-rugby related guide to our 2013 Lions tour.
And what a tour it was.
And what a great tour it was. And I think Faz is pretty determined when we spoke to him to make it
Like that.
very enjoyable. So there we are. There'll be some good stories coming out of this one, I'm sure.
Well, thank you, Tom, for joining us. It's been great going down memory lane. Your knowledge of the game is really good, actually. Much better than mine. But yeah, we'll be back after the game on Saturday when the Lions play Western Force. See you then. For the love of rugby.
If you want to drop us a line, get involved with our socials.
Just search for @LoveOfRugby. And if you've listened to all our episodes and need another podcast, go and find Joe Marler's Things People Do.
See you next time.